In this video, I'm going to be ranking every track in Mario Kart World. This game has only been out for a week and a half, so my opinions could definitely change over time. But as for right now, I'm pretty confident in my rankings. I'll be ranking the tracks in order from number 30 to number 1, as well as sorting them into tiers C through S. My lowest tier is as high as C tier because I actually don't genuinely dislike any tracks right now. There are just some tracks I could go without playing. Generally speaking, I like most tracks in this game, and you'll eventually find out why. So with that said, without further ado, let's start giving her, bud. All right, kicking off our list at number 30 is Mario Bros. Circuit. This is currently my least favorite track in the game, and I'm going to be completely transparent here. A lot of that is a skill issue right now. Yeah, I'm not really that good at this track, if I'm going to be completely honest. I feel like I generally don't play as well online, and you know, apart from the skill issue side of things, you know, it does have some cool things like, you know, like the railings that you can do here, you know, some cool techniques that you can do to move around. But, you know, you got like really long, boring turns like this one, and it kind of just reminds me of, ooh, okay, I was going to take a shortcut at the end. I just got hit off the track. It kind of just reminds me of like the boring tracks from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, like Toad Circuit, for instance. You know, obviously it's not completely boring from start to finish, but it's not as fast paced as some of the other tracks in this game. So it kind of just pales in comparison, you know. Like I said in the intro, you know, these are C tier tracks. Like this, I don't consider this to be an inherently bad track by any means. And this would be the case even if, you know, this wasn't a skill issue and I still felt this way about Mario Bros. Circuit. It's just naturally one of those tracks that I don't think is that engaging or interesting. And that's okay, you know, it's just a basic track. So obviously it gets a bit of a pass in that regard, but when compared to the other tracks, it's pretty boring. So as a result, it lands a spot at number 30. I think this path is pretty cool as well. A little glider shortcut that you can take here. You saw the Shroomless shortcut that I took at the beginning. But yeah, all around, not that much going on in Mario Bros. Circuit. It's a cool opening track, and I don't even think it's that bad, but for me, it is number 30. At number 29, we got Starview Peak. And very similar to Mario Bros. Circuit, this is just a pretty boring track. You know, there's a couple shortcuts that definitely make this more of a bagging track, I would say. I don't even know how to define it as a bagging track, to be fully honest. Because it definitely does act as a bagging track. And, you know, unlike Mario Kart Deluxe, bagging is actually fun in this game because the shock is less powerful, and that makes a big deal. You got a shortcut you can take right here. It's a pretty like small shortcut, but it still makes an impact. And thank goodness for the blue fire that you get here. You can see on the back of my baby blooper here, this section you get sped up, which is pretty awesome. But you know, it's a water section the whole way through, and when it's a water section, it's just not as, you know, you're naturally a bit slower, so you don't even really feel like the blue fire effect like you would on tracks like Rainbow Road or Bowser's Castle. And so yeah, we just played a full lap of it. I think the content of this track is really cool. It's definitely like Rosalina's Comet Observatory-esque per se, but it's in execution, like it looks a bit like Ice Ice Outpost, and then it has elements from Big Blue, like this water stream section. But at the end of the day, I feel like this track is just kind of boring. Doesn't really have a lot going for it. And even the mini-map just doesn't look that special once you get past the opening sequence. It's a very wide track, which I guess is cool for 24-player races, but it just doesn't have a lot going for it. I don't think it's an inherently bad track, just the same case as Mario Bros. Circuit. I think it's a little bit better. I think it looks really cool, and I think there is potential for more engaging, you know, controlled races on this track. But overall, yeah, not the biggest fan of this track, which is why it's number 29. At number 28, we have the new and improved, potentially or controversially, whichever way you put it, Peach Beach. Now, I'm going to be honest, I think the changes to this track are really cool, and I don't want to take anything away from what they did to it, because I think the new lap 2, like specifically lap 2, I actually think lap 2 is really, really cool. I don't like lap 3, but I can appreciate the fact that they went outside the box to create something unique and special. I think that's cool. But I would say more than anything, I feel like I would have honestly preferred the original Peach Beach to be in this game, like just the regular Peach Beach, 3 laps all around. If lap 3 was more like this lap 2, then I think I would be more receptive to this track. But considering lap 3 just feels like an intermission track, I'm not the biggest fan of it. And that's what definitely knocks it down for me. But this section I think is pretty cool. I think it's really unique traveling on the outskirts of the original Peach Beach. I think that's a really cool concept, and I hope that this applies to more tracks in the future. But yeah, like I said, like look at the mini map for this part of the track. There's not much going for it. You can see in front of us, it's just a straightaway. And this is one of the longer straightaways in this game, undoubtedly. So, and then you turn the corner and then it's another long straightaway. Once again, in the water. Like a lot of water sections in this game are just like not that special and kind of annoying sometimes because the water physics in this game just aren't that great. Maybe they're not bad, but like in comparison to the ground physics, they just pale in comparison big time. And that's kind of the narrative of this track, much like Mario Bros. Circuit and Stardew Peak. It's not an inherently bad track, but it's just not that appealing to me. And that's why I put it at number 28. Number 27 is Salty Salty Speedway. Now, this track, you know, I actually do consider this like a fair improvement from the bottom 3 tracks. I don't think this track is too bad. I would say my bottom 3 are definitely the ones that like I actively dislike when they get picked per se. This is a track where it's like when it gets picked, it's like obviously I'd prefer other tracks, but overall I don't mind this track too much. I think the sections where you aren't in the water, which is basically like just that section we passed, are pretty cool. And even this water section, it feels pretty fast, but it's mainly this section that really frustrates me because a lot can happen here even though it's a wide section. And this shortcut's really tight. When you have so many people going for it potentially at the end, you know, that can have a really tough impact on your race if you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time. And then it could just generally lead to a rather unpleasant experience. And again, like the water physics in this game, not the worst, but when you compare them to the ground physics, they just pale in comparison. So I would say I do enjoy a fair amount. I enjoy a couple races every now and again on this track, but this isn't a track when compared to the other tracks in this game that I'm actively excited to play. I'm not actively looking forward to playing Salty Salty Speedway. Like this ending section, also the shortcut's really strong. That is sometimes positive of the track, but like the water physics just make you drive so slow. And I don't really like that when, you know, most of the track is water. So yeah, as a result, Salty Salty Speedway is my number 27. Number 26 is Dino Dino Jungle. Now I think this track as a recreation, as a reimagination is really, really cool. I really like the, you know, the Animal Kingdom type dinosaur, you know, type vibe. I think is really cool. And I think it really matches the vibe of Dino Dino Jungle. And I think that's a great thing. However, what is most important to me is the gameplay. What's the gameplay for how online play works? And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the item box distribution on this track. And I would say the biggest reason for that is you saw that shortcut that I took. So that's like the big shroom spot. And that's what makes this track more of a bagging track. Now, as you'll see later on in this ranking, I actually don't mind the bagging tracks all that much. I think they are, you know, because naturally this game is more like Mario Kart Wii pilled, if you want to put it that way, when it comes to the item system. I think that makes bagging more fun all around, especially when combined with the fact that the shock is A, you know, you can only pull one shock at a time, generally speaking, of course, and B, shocks are far less impactful because you grow so much faster. However, I think because the second set is right before the shortcut and it also skips the last item set, if you're taking that shortcut, if you are, you know, structuring your race and your strategy around taking the ending shortcut that I'm coming up on, then you're skipping the last set. It's very Hyrule Circuit-esque, but I'm not the biggest fan of it just because there's such a big gap in between second set and the last set. And unlike Hyrule Circuit and 8 Deluxe, this is a firm bagging track. I don't think it works as well. I'm not the biggest fan of it, and I don't know. It's just not my favorite track overall. I don't mind it. I think it's a cool concept, but generally speaking, I don't really like playing this track too much. So that's why Dino Dino Jungle is number 26. Number 25 is Choco Mountain. Now, I would say out of all of the tracks that came from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I would say this is the only track that I like less in this game than in 8 Deluxe. And it's unfortunate because I really did like Choco Mountain in the last game. But while I kind of very much appreciate Nintendo going out of their way to reimagine this track and make it more like a football, Charge and Chuck football stadium with a lot of mud. I don't know. I just feel like in execution, there's so much of this track that just feels awkward, like the light mud. I'm not the biggest fan of, and it doesn't feel enough like Choco Mountain. And generally speaking, I don't think when a track doesn't feel enough like its original, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing by any means. I don't think Choco Mountain is, worse for that reason. I think why it's worse is because it's turned more into like a more toxic bagging track, if you will, because everything centers around one item set and nothing else really matters outside of that. And the item set is the item set we're coming up on right now. If you pull a dodge item like a Mega Mushroom, a Star, or a Bullet Bill, then you chain it into that set. You can take the shortcut to my left in the mud. Huge shortcut. And the shock is, using the shock at the second item set on lap 3, probably the best shock spot in the whole game. So, I mean, I will say, I've won some more races on this track. So, it would have been a D tier track if I just didn't really get a read on this track, because I'm not the biggest fan of its redesign all around, but I'm not inherently upset when this track gets picked. I don't think it's too bad of a track. I'm not the biggest fan of the redesign, but it plays well enough where I'm not too bothered by it. And yes, the obvious shock spot can sometimes be annoying, but I mean, hey, when you're winning races, is it really that annoying? I don't think so. So yeah, those are my reasons for why Choco Mountain is number 25. Number 24 is Crown City. Now, this track, it honestly feels like a tour city track. Like, I know it has city in the name, but like, it feels way too much like a tour city track, like more often than not. And I think that definitely holds back its ranking quite a bit. But it has enough fun moments, especially near the end, which I will be showcasing, of course, throughout this entire marathon, if you will. I can't believe I'm saying marathon when Rainbow Road exists. But as we go through the track, I'll, showcase all the cool stuff you can do, because while this is a boring track by design, I think this lap 1 is especially just not special at all. I think lap 2 and 3, if lap 1 was similar to laps 2 and 3, I think I would have more of an appreciation for this track. But lap 1 and, like this straightaway especially, which is also the case on lap 2, I just don't find it that special, which is why I've ranked this so low. But yeah, lap 1, definitely what kills this track the most for me. It feels very long, very boring. And yeah, overall, I'm just not a fan of it. But lap 2 is where things start to get a little more unique. Obviously, it's nothing that special in comparison to the other tracks in this game. And I mean, as you guys know, if you watched my Mario Kart 8 Deluxe 96 track ranking video, I care a lot about how fun a track is to play. That's the most important factor when it comes to how much I like a track, because I don't care all that much about how good a track looks. I don't care about the inspiration behind it all that much. Obviously, those are cool, fun facts, and I will consider them, but when it comes to the actual ranking of a track and you were comparing it to the other tracks, what's most important for me is how a track plays and how fun it is. I don't find lap 1 very fun. I think lap 2 is all right, but when compared to the other tracks, it's not that special. I definitely think lap 3 thrives the most. You got the shortcut to my left, which I've been getting shrooms this whole time to take shortcuts, but I didn't get shrooms this time, just subconsciously. But what I really like first, big time shortcut, is this guy right here. There's a third blue shell coming out. Can I make it before then? I think I can. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we made it just to get blue shelled. Yeah, cool little shroomless shortcut right there. And there will be no shortage of that in this video, as you will see in the future. But yeah, all around, Crown City, it has some cool moments, but for the most part, it's pretty boring, and compared to the other tracks, the cool moments just aren't even that special. So that's why Crown City is number 24. At number 23, we got DK Spaceport. Now, this track, I will admit, definitely a bit of a skill issue like Mario Bros. Circuit. This is one of my, lesser performing tracks for sure. Let's try to get this shortcut's not available in Versus Race. Excuse me? Dude, that, blue thingy there is not there. Also, Robo DK, absolute legend. Robo DK is my favorite character in this game. Just straight up. I love Robo DK so much. But yeah, this track honestly kind of reminds me of Excitebike Arena from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and it's not really a good thing because at least on Excitebike, you had all like the mini turbo strats and whatnot. And there definitely are some cool techniques that you can pull off on this track, but generally speaking, it's kind of like a lesser Excitebike Arena. And then I would say the last 2 laps, I'm not a fan of. I think laps 1 through 4 are cool, and I think if laps 5 and 6 were of similar nature, then it could be better. But all around, you get 1 shortcut per lap, and it's enough to make it a bagging track. This section's really cool. I like this section a lot. Doing all the grind tricks. I messed that up. So there's that. And this section should have been cool, but it's actually faster to avoid the wall rides and go down here for for maximum speed. I would go up top if you want to avoid getting hit in the pack, which can make this section really toxic if you do what I did there, just driving the straightforward tricking. But this section I hate this section the most because it's wide, but all the barrels combined with avoiding all the items that are around you, yeah, it's pretty toxic, and I haven't had many fun race endings on this track as a result. So that's why for me, DK Spaceport, it's a really cool concept and I really appreciate that, but in execution and gameplay and how fun it is, it just doesn't really hit the mark for me. So as a result, it's on the lower end of my tier list, and it's number 23. Number 22 is Desert Hills. And this might surprise some people because while I have alluded to this throughout the video, I guess it is, it's a good time to make it official. I really like bagging in this game. Like, I genuinely like bagging in this game. And, I'm going to be honest, I feel like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe gaslit all of us into thinking that bagging was some terrible gameplay mechanic because you're playing Mario Kart, was framed to be the wrong way. And maybe it is the wrong way, but I think the reality is that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had a really broken shock system where you could pull multiple shocks, and the impact of said shocks was devastating because of double items. While this game doesn't double items, A, there can generally only be 1 shock at a time, and B, the shock is far less impactful because you grow so much faster. That definitely incentivizes running. It also incentivizes, bagging in the short term to catch up later, and you can bag like it's 8 Deluxe. And so I feel like this track is very open in terms of the strategy that you can apply here, and that's something that I really appreciate. I also think in general this track is a cool redesign of Desert Hills. I really like, I believe they're called the Moais, the ones like from Super Mario Land, I believe it is. That, and you can just see again here, you've seen the shock before in this video, but like, yeah, you just grow so fast. Like those guys running around, I think that's so cool. And they just look so cool doing it too. So like, That's pretty awesome, man. But yeah, all around. Also, the Moais right here, the flying ones, incredible. But yeah, all around, it's still Desert Hills. It's not that special of a track. And compared to the other tracks in this game, it's not that exciting, which is why, for me, it's at number 22. Number 21, closing out the first 10 tracks of my ranking, is DK Pass. And I admit, this track could be a bit of a skill issue for me. I know this is a really cool... You know, I'm actually going to try it in this. I've never tried this strat that I'm referring to. It's not this one. This one's very easy, and I think it's pretty cool. But DK Pass, it definitely strikes me as, like, you know, standard, you know, off-road, you know, snow type track. And, you know, I think it is a fine track for online play. Okay, I guess I'm not going to be able to get to try it. I do think you need a mushroom for it, though, so I'm going to try to stick to the back and get mushrooms, but don't be surprised if I fail. There's like a really cool thing you can do where you like ride the rail before the second last set, and then you can like ride the wall next to it, you know, get a wall trick, and then, you know, trick off all the trees to make a shroomless shortcut, and I think that's cool. I just don't know how to do it. I feel like the ending of races on this track can be a little toxic when you have all the shortcuts and you have, you know, all the ramps at the end, so you have, I guess, less versatility in your movement, if that makes sense. Dude, look at Bowser pulling off this shortcut. That's actually so epic. I think that shortcut's cool. It's not that special. And this track looks amazing, by the way. Like, I really, really like this track's redesign. Let me see if I can pull this off shroomless. I doubt it, but we'll see. Wait. Oh, so close. Yeah, you have to trick off of the trees, and then you can make a shroomless shortcut out of that. And I think that's super cool. This is a track I look forward to time trialing. I think it has fun moments when it comes to the driving aspect, and it's definitely far from boring. I just feel like the way that items impact the race. I know it's Mario Kart, so it's kind of ironic, broken record type vibe, but I don't know. I feel like races on this track can sometimes be a little frustrating, more so than others, but I think the design of this track is still really cool. I think I really enjoy driving it, and it definitely ups it a little bit. It's at the top of C tier, or like damn near the very top, for a reason. I think it's a cool track all around. Oh, I couldn't do it. Not quite. I'll time trial this track and try to get better at that. But yeah, all around, I think it's a fine track. It's why it's top C tier for me. So yeah, that's why for me it's at number 21. This might be a little bit of a hot take, because I know this track is disappointing for a good chunk of people. My number 20 at the very top of C tier is Wario Shipyard. Now, the biggest reason, the most glaring reason why this is disappointing for a lot of people is because the entire underwater section has been replaced with driving on top of the water, which in a lot of ways feels like it cuts off a lot of this track. And a lot of people don't like that. And I understand that for sure. And on top of that, you know, water physics just aren't that great in comparison to driving on the ground. So there's that as well. But, and you know, I know that I recognize that that kind of goes against some of my logic for my other rankings. But, you know, I think when it comes to track rankings in this game, it's very much a vibe. You know, it's less about logic and it's more of the vibe. How you enjoy the track is what's most important more than anything. I think the track looks great. I'm not the biggest fan of the water sections, but I feel like the way the track is laid out in terms of the mini-map and all the turns and whatnot, I definitely think it makes dealing with the water sections a bit easier because, you know, they're not even that bad. And if you got a good handle of the water physics, then you can use that to your advantage in beating people on this track. And I think that's a really cool thing. It definitely gives you an opportunity to skill diff people, which is awesome. I think it's a great concept. And I would say this ending section I especially like. I really like, you know, the change of pace from getting out of the water. Can I get the shortcut? I can get the shortcut, I believe. No, I cannot. We're going to go for it on lap 3. Couldn't quite do it this lap, unfortunately, but it's all good. I think Wario Shipyard, it definitely, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I definitely think it could have been better if it stayed true to its original design and this game didn't have the change of the underwater being completely gone. I mean, to be honest, I was never the biggest fan of the water physics, even in Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart 8. Although I do prefer them than the water physics in this game. I do think the tricks you can pull off there are really cool, though, especially when you can get them in rapid succession. I think that's cool. All right, shortcut time. Let's go. Bless me up. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's how you do it. Okay, we got the shortcut down. So Wario Shipyard, it definitely has its moments where it feels as though it's lacking. And I fully recognize that, and I agree. But I feel like what gives this track the edge over the bottom 10 are its layouts, and when you're not in the water, I think it's really cool. So that's why I have Wario Shipyard at the top of C tier at number 20. I don't think any of you could have possibly seen this one coming, and as the game evolves, there is a chance that this track could go down on the tier list for me. But right now, I actually enjoy this track. At number 19, we got Moo Moo Meadows, and I consider this track to be a significant upgrade from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And I'll get into that in a bit. First, I want to try the shortcut. Hey! I mean, I hit the fence at the end. It wasn't the best shortcut in the world, but we still got it, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, dude, Moo Moo Meadows. I never thought I would give this track such a high ranking, but I really like it. And I think it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier in regards to, you know, this game is very Mario Kart Wii pilled coded kind of thing. I liked Moo Moo Meadows in Mario Kart Wii. I didn't think it was a bad track by any stretch. I didn't like it that much in Mario Kart 8 U, and you guys know I definitely did not like it in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I was not a fan of Moo Moo Meadows in that game at all. So I was a bit worried when it was announced that this track would be in the game. But I feel like the item set distribution, because that was the biggest problem in 8 Deluxe, was the item set distribution. I really didn't like it. But I feel like it's much better in this game. For one, there's actually 3 item sets, which I think was this track's biggest flaw in 8 Deluxe. There were only 2 item sets on this track, and the second item set, the double boxes were on opposite sides, and I really didn't like that. And while this track is definitely more of a bagging track in this game, like I said, you know, bagging I enjoyed a lot more in this game than in 8 Deluxe. I've been enjoying playing this track and bagging this track, and it's been a really fun time. I really like the dynamic of the first set, and, you know, if you shock people there, you have to force people to go around this shortcut to get a box over here instead of taking the shortcut and missing a box. So that's another thing you have to factor in if you don't have a dodge, and you definitely don't have shock. So overall, I would say this track is a great remake from Mario Kart Wii and a significant improvement from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I was really impressed. I'm still very impressed with Moo Moo Meadows, and yeah, it's in my top 20. It is a firm number 19. Number 18 is Cheep Cheep Falls. Now, this is something that I haven't actually talked about much at all in this video, but the soundtrack. First and foremost, the soundtrack in this game, as it is phenomenal. I love the soundtrack in this game in general. But Cheep Cheep Falls, this is my favorite soundtrack in the game. Straight up. Favorite soundtrack in the game, hands down. Absolutely love it. Now, as a track, I think it's a good track. I enjoy this track, which is why I put it in B tier. However, it's still in my bottom 15 for, like, my bottom half for a reason. I think there is too much of an emphasis on, you know, this shortcut right here. Like, my strategy for this race isn't even to bag. Like, if I have to bag, if it makes more sense to bag, then obviously I'll do it. But, you know, there is such an emphasis on mushrooms, and a lot of that's because that middle section, or the second half of this track, where it's, you know, fully a water section, you know, obviously you're much slower when you're in the water. Oh gosh, we got bombs to deal with. Dude, when you get Nabbit, like, from Kamek, it's so toxic. But yeah, like, I think this section with, like, all the tricks there is, like, really cool. But this section, yeah, it's very much, if you go around this shortcut, you're very, very slow, and people can take advantage of that and pass you very easily if they are taking, you know, especially that first shortcut and the second shortcut to my right. It's a big deal being able to take those shortcuts because you're much slower in the water than you are on the ground. So even if you're not bagging, you have to be mindful of pulling mushrooms to take, at the very least, the first big shortcut. And I think having less of an emphasis on at least initial front running, or, you know, front running, like being in first place, you just like playing the game and running traditionally, I definitely think that can tank the track a little bit, and that's why I have it in my bottom 15. I still think it's a cool track, cool design, looks great, amazing soundtrack, best soundtrack in the game in my opinion. But I think because of the emphasis of the need for shrooms to take, especially that big shortcut and then the last shortcut, as a result, it lands a spot at number 18. Number 17 is Koopa Troopa Beach. Now, I feel like if this was just like, if I was ranking this solely based on the driving, I would probably put this track at the very bottom because it's a very boring track in terms of its base driving. But I like bagging in this game. This track works as both a running track and a bagging track, and you can easily, you know, make it so that you profit from bagging, and you can set yourself up where if you get shocked while trying to run up a dodge or something like that, then you'll still be fine. I would say it's first set lap 5 that I like to use my dodges, and even if I don't dodge the shock, I'm taking enough shortcuts to set myself up. I'll do a demonstration with my Mega Mushroom, for instance. But yeah, like you're taking enough shortcuts where even if you don't dodge, you're going to be set up really well regardless. It's kind of funny how I immediately am just like losing my Mega in the shortcut, but either way, I think this track's fun. I think it's a fun track. I think it leads to some exciting races, some fun races all around, and what matters most to me is fun. Also, the soundtrack is awesome. I really like what they did, like making it more of like a techno, like rave type beat. I think that's super cool. So yeah, man, Koopa Troopa Beach, very basic track, but I feel like where the track is interesting, it's really interesting, and I love that. So that's why I have it at number 17. Closing out the bottom 15 is Mario Circuit. Now while this is the last, I would say, bagging track, you know, in the game, and it's in the bottom half, you know, the reason why these kinds of tracks are in the bottom half, it's not necessarily because they're bagging tracks. It's more so just because the tracks above these, you know, that are ranked higher have just way more depth to them, and I really, really like that about the tracks that are to come in the top 15. So that's why I have Mario Circuit at number 16. I think the concept of it being, you know, lap 1 is Mario Circuit 1, lap 2 is Mario Circuit 2, and lap 3 is Mario Circuit 3, I think that's so cool. I think it's a really cool concept. Like, you no longer have to say laps 1, 2, and 3. You can actually just say Mario Circuits 1, 2, and 3 because it's in that order. I think that's an amazing concept, and I hope in the future they do this with more Super Nintendo tracks because I think it's an amazing concept. This item set is the perfect place to use your dodges. You know, you can ideally get 2 more really good items. You can take some shortcuts as well, and considering how short this track is, it definitely sets you up to do pretty well. Can I use a feather shortcut here? I sure can. I've never even tried that before. That's cool. Also, the scaling of this track is such a breath of fresh air compared to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Mario Circuit 3. That track was way too upscaled, and I think that really hurt the track. This track is very downscaled from start to finish, and it makes the track more fun, honestly. I really like Mario Circuit in this game, and that's why I have it just at the very top of my bottom 15. Kicking off the top 15 and getting to the top end of my B tier. I started quite a bit there. At number 15, we have Peach Stadium. Now, this track, it definitely can remind people of Mario Kart Stadium in the way it's designed. And up until the very end of 8 Deluxe, I hated Mario Kart Stadium. But There is no motion glider in this game. There is no ridiculously broken ending shortcut. I really like that there is a very fast opening beginning shortcut. I feel like the fact that the biggest shortcut is in the beginning makes this track much more balanced because you can profit from bagging on this track. And I think it's very fair all around. But if you aim to front run, it's kind of like a cruise, if you will. Like you're kind of just chilling, going for a stroll, having a good time. And I generally like that on this track, or on tracks like these. It's, you know, a bit of a step back from the chaos and like the crazy driving. You know, this is one of those tracks that you can pick. There will be enough engagement where it's like you gotta take the race seriously, and there's a lot of boost panels, which, you know, always leads to some cool stuff. And all around, yeah, I think this track is just great. Now I would fall off, but I want to actually take this feather shortcut. A little demonstration. If I go fast enough. Yeah, I'm good. We good. I think this feather shortcut's really cool, and this definitely isn't the only feather shortcut in this game by any stretch. Maybe in the future I'll upload a video specifically on the feather shortcuts, but yeah, I don't have much else to say here. I think this track is really cool, and yeah, it's kind of like a casual stroll, but there's enough engagement to make it, you know, gotta stay on top of your game. So yeah, Peach Stadium, number 15. Number 14 is Dandelion Depths. Now, this is one of the funnier tracks in this game because while I don't believe this strat is faster now, I think it's so funny the fact that this was actually faster for at least like the opening. It's definitely still worth it too. Like you can go fast just by like just steering on that turn. It is such a stupid mechanic, but I almost feel like it adds to the track. The fact that just merely steering on a turn is faster than drifting. I don't know, man. I think it's kind of funny. That's just me personally. And yeah, other than that, you know, I think this is probably like one of my favorite water sections in the whole game. And then it segues into a boost panel section, which, you know, when the game is more fast-paced, which this game in general is very fast-paced, which I am very, very happy about, you know. Even in the sections where the driving is less intense, it doesn't feel in any way like base game 8 Deluxe, like without all the tech. And I think that's really cool. I think it really adds to this game, the fact that you can drive in a straight line, and unless you're playing a connected track or an intermission track, if you know it better that way, you know, you're not going to be bored out of your mind. If the long straight isn't too long, then it doesn't feel boring. And I think that's where Nintendo really hit the mark in this game is, you know, where the driving is supposed to be boring, a lot of the times it's not boring. And I think it really shows on this track. A lot of this track is, you know, driving straight, doing some tricks here and there, and maybe even steering around a whole, like, around a whole O-turn, if you want to call it that. A whole loop. But yeah, overall, I think Dandelion Depths is a really cool track. I like the music on this track quite a lot. I think driving this track is fun, very fast-paced, despite it being more on the basic side in terms of the techniques you can pull off. If you want to call steering a technique, I mean, be my guest. But yeah, I think Dandelion Depths is very solid. I think it's a cool design. And so is at number 14. At the very top of B tier is number 13, Boo Cinema. Now, I think, you know, this is my favorite track out of all the tracks that don't really have a lot of technical prowess to them. And that's something you're going to see in A tier and S tier. Every track after this one, with I suppose the exception of Rainbow Road, is there's always some like really cool technical prowess to the track. But overall, I think the track design here is just really, really cool. And I love the concept of the track being, you know, it's like in a movie theater and the outskirts of the movie theater as well. And I feel like the haunted vibe of it being like a Boo theme track is also just really, really cool. I really enjoy races on this track all around, and I think Boo Cinema is just a great all-around track. It's the very top of B tier. You give this track a B+, if you will, which is a pretty solid grading, if you ask me. I just think this track just has like a really cool vibe to it. I really like how, you know, on the left here, you can go tight, but if you go tight right now, then you'll be going slower because whatever that is, like that record player, I think it is, it's moving the opposite direction, but this isn't. It's moving with you, so you go faster naturally. But overall, I think this track is super cool, super fun vibe. I think the music on this track is also very unique relative to the theming of this track. It doesn't feel as, you know, super like haunted house type vibe. It almost feels like, it's almost like a, you know, there's like humor in it, which is kind of interesting because it's such a scary type track. And I think that's such a cool vibe, and I think that really captures Boo Cinema in a great way. So as a result, Boo Cinema, very top of B tier at number 13. Kicking off the A tier at number 12 is Whistle Stop Summit. This is the first track showcased in the game where there is a lot of technical prowess on the track, and you're about to see that right away. This track is rail central. You gotta trick off all the rails you possibly can. And on top of that, you got a cool Shroomless shortcut here. Boom, boom, bang! Yes, sir! That shortcut's awesome. I love pulling that off online so much. I think it's so cool. And then you got this ending sequence as well. You do it Shroomless like this, and it just feels amazing the whole way through. Boom! Just like that. It's a super fast-paced track, and that's something that I can really, really appreciate about this game, is how fast-paced it is for a lot of the tracks. You know, this is only the start of a streak of tracks where there's just so much going on, and I really, really appreciate that about so many tracks in this game. Like I said, because, you know, I said that twice now. I'm getting good at that shortcut too. That was one of my best attempts. So we are improving. We're improving. Like I said in my first impressions video, we're learning, we're adapting, we're evolving. But yeah, man, I really like this track. It's definitely one of my favorites right now, and I recently learned it as well. So if I get a better handle of it, then who knows, I might even like it some more afterwards. I think this opening sequence is also really cool to demonstrate, you know, this path being faster. I think that's awesome. And one more Shroomless shortcut for the fans, and then next track. Boom. Not my best attempt, but it was still faster. So yeah, Whistle Stop Summit, super fast-paced track. I really love the vibe of it and the design. And that's why it's at number 12. Number 11 is Shy Guy Bazaar, barely missing the top 10, but regardless, still a very good track, which is why it's an A tier. I really, really like this track. Now, I'm not going for the signature rail shortcut on lap 1, but we will go for it on lap 2, and if I fail it, then definitely lap 3, and I will not allow myself to stop commentating until lap 3 if I have to. I think this is an amazing redesign, and I feel like this is a super fast-paced track in this game. I don't have too much memory of playing this track in Mario Kart 7, but I don't know. I feel like the pace of this track in this game is just, it feels so significant. And I'm a big fan of pace. I love when tracks feel fast paced. Let's try the shortcut real quick. Boom, beautiful. You can get on this rail at the beginning. You can ride it up here. And then do some more rail tech, and boom, you're up on this new path to your right. This obviously is tighter than the main path, and then you drop off right here. And just like that, you're at second set, which I think is amazing. You do have to skip first set, and it doesn't save a ridiculous amount of time, so there definitely is a risk to reward factor, and I almost wasn't off the track. That would have been crazy. Bit of a skill issue track for me as well. I sometimes struggle to get on the left railing, and that can definitely break my spirit a little bit sometimes. Little hashtag crash out every now and again. But yeah, all around, I think this track is great. I think it's an amazing redesign, and I didn't expect to like this track so much. I didn't think too fondly of it. Not that I thought it was bad in Mario Kart 7, but I didn't like remember it like I did tracks like Music Park and Neo Bowser City and Bowser's Castle and Rainbow Road. You get the idea. I never really thought too much about this track. It was pretty forgettable, but in this game, I absolutely love it, which is why it's number 11. Kicking off my top 10 is Airship Fortress. I absolutely love this track. Let's see if I can get on the rail at the beginning. Okay, not the very beginning, but we can get on it here. There we go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Super fast-paced track. And you know how I feel about pace. I love fast-paced tracks. This track, very fast-paced, especially that beginning. It definitely plays a lot like Airship Fortress from Mario Kart DS afterwards, but also Airship Fortress from Mario Kart DS, one of the most iconic tracks in the game. In Mario Kart history at that. It's an incredible track. And I think this is an amazing redesign. I really love what they did with the rails, and we'll do a full demonstration here. Get on the rail here. Boom, 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 boom. Right, forward, keeps going to the right, up, boom. Right again, and then off the rail just like that. I think that's an amazing design. One of my favorite tracks to drive in the game for sure is for that opening section. My only gripe with the track is that it has a lot of tight sections, especially that spiral, and that can be pretty tough to deal with if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. But you also have to position yourself properly in that scenario as well, so call that a skill issue. You really could call that a skill issue. But overall, we're going to do this one more time for the fans, but Airship Fortress is an amazing track. Very much earns its spot in my top 10. It's a super fun track to drive. I might have to... Okay, yep, okay, next. Number 9 is Toad's Factory, and this track is so iconic. I would say it's my favorite track from Mario Kart Wii, and it is very good in this game as well. I don't know which one I prefer between Mario Kart Wii Toad's Factory and Mario Kart World Toad's Factory, but I think this track is great. I will say it is downscaled a fair chunk, so, you know, some sections of this track, like this section here in particular, can get pretty toxic online, but I think the driving on this track is absolutely phenomenal from start to finish, and I especially like this Shroomless shortcut right here. You get up top here, you drop down to here, you right trick, boom, and you get off right here. Hit the off for a little bit, but that's okay. And that saves some good time over taking the normal route, which I really, really like about this track. You know, they took out the lake, so you can't do the lake shortcut, but if the lake was there and you couldn't do the lake shortcut like in Mario Kart Wii, that would be your way of doing it. And I think that's an amazing concept. I love how they took such an iconic shortcut and turned it into an intended shortcut. And I would say that this game's version of the shortcut is arguably, you know, more dynamic and expressive than Mario Kart Wii's version of the shortcut, which I think is just insane to say because Mario Kart Wii is considered to be that game. Not taking anything away from Mario Kart Wii's, you know, lake shortcut, but it kind of hits different in this game, I'm not going to lie. It kind of hits different in this game. I like that a lot. I think this track looks really great. It's Toad's Factory, man. You can't go wrong with Toad's Factory. It's an absolute classic. Which still feels kind of crazy to say that Mario Kart Wii is a classic now. I mean, the game's 17 years old. Yet it feels still so recent because this is only the fourth new... You know, it's only the fourth most recent Mario Kart game in recent time. That is what we call a sell. But yeah, Toad's Factory all around. I think it's a great redesign. It's a little downscaled, you know, to a fault to some points, but other than that, I think it's an amazing redesign, and that's why it's number 9. At number 8, we got Sky High Sunday, and now this track, here's the thing. I didn't actually dislike this track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I know that it got a bad rep because it was the first, like, new track in, like, 7 years for the game, and it turned out to be a glorified oval, but I never really disliked it. But in this game, it is absolutely incredible. First and foremost, this section right here is vertically downscaled, which means you go through it at a much faster pace than in Mario Kart Deluxe, which is awesome. And then this shortcut, dude. This shortcut is incredible. We saw it in the Mario Kart World Direct, but the way you pull it off as a pro is just incredible. Like, the double left wall trick is just fantastic. And This track feels very immersive from start to finish. Yes, it is still that same glorified oval, but there's more going on. And this game, again, is naturally a faster paced game. And that makes it so that the tracks feel faster. And this track absolutely feels faster. I enjoy playing this track every single time it's picked. And it just looks beautiful, especially in comparison to 8 Deluxe. You know, I think this track looks incredible. It's such a fun track from start to finish, especially at the end. I think it's fantastic, especially when you do it perfectly like I did there, or at least as close to perfectly as possible. And yeah, man, Sky High Sunday, legendary track. I love it in this game. I will always look forward to playing this track. And that's why, for me, it is my 8th favorite track in the game. Coming in at number 7 is the iconic and legendary new Rainbow Road. This is the kind of Rainbow Road that we were all saying could be absolutely insane in Mario Kart 8 because of the anti-gravity. And it is even more insane than we could have possibly imagined in this game. I really love Rainbow Road in this game. I only wish that there were more like rails and walls to ride on per se, but nothing can take away from the fact that this was my favorite. This is my most unforgettable first impression of a track in Mario Kart history. Like playing this through the first time, like the only really bad thing about this track is the fact that we can't experience the first playthrough ever again. You know, I was just blown away. Like looking at the mini map, like at the very beginning of my playthrough, I was just in complete and utter disbelief at what I was experiencing. All right, I'm not going to bail myself out with a feather. I'm actually going to go for this path split shortcut. It's a hard one, but I'm going for it. I got it. We're good. You barely make it. It's hard. It's really hard. But like I just try to aim right for the boost panel, and generally speaking, that works because you're optimizing, you know, you're tricking at like the highest point of the first path and landing at the lowest point of the second path that you're landing on. I really love the blue fire on this track. I think it's such an amazing concept to just like go faster all around, and it really shows when you're on the ground. Like I said on Stardew Peak, like you don't even really get to experience the blue fire because of it just being on the water the whole time. You don't even get to really feel it. I didn't even know that it was on the track until like my second playthrough of it, or maybe even later than that. Like I first felt it on Bowser's Castle, and we're gonna get to that track later. But yeah, dude, this is such a unique track. It's a marathon type track, and I think that's so cool. And there's so much variety in this track as well. Like, you know, you have the lap 1 and 4 iconic type Rainbow Road, and then lap 2, you know, is like half and half. Like it has a more unique look. And this lap is just, it's so unique. It's like a rainbow colony kind of thing or something like that. Like the space station. And, you know, something I didn't mention, this track is like a love letter to every past Mario Kart. Like you got the rainbow flumps from Super Mario Kart's Rainbow Road. You got, what's it called? You got the incredibly long length of Mario Kart 64. And I would say Mario Kart Wii as well, even like to a lesser extent. You got like, you can trick off anything. It can just nature of the game, like in Mario Kart Super Circuit. You got the train. That train was not in Mario Kart Double Dash. I forget what the Double Dash reference is, to be honest, but and you got like a bunch of like the loops, like in, not fully the loops, but you know, the track does take you on a lot of, you know, winding crazy turns like in Mario Kart DS. And then you got like the space, you know, like just the variety like in Mario Kart 7. It's a section-based track. And the space station like in Mario Kart 8. I probably didn't get all the references there. I probably was way off even, but fact of the matter is, there's just so much love put into this track, and you really feel it from start to finish. Like, it feels like a true bookend to this amazing game. If there was more insane tech, well, actually, no, look, Robo DK to the right. My favorite part of the track. Once again, my favorite character in the game, Robo DK. Absolute legend, dude. But yeah, man, Rainbow Road in this game, absolutely phenomenal. A marathon One of the most unique tracks in Mario Kart history, and really solidifies what a Rainbow Road is supposed to be, which is something special, something unique, something incredible. And I think this game really hit the mark with this Rainbow Road, and that's why I love this track. And it really speaks to how good some of the other tracks are, that this track is only at number 7, because I still consider it to be that good. Barely missing the top 5 is still an amazing track, Far Away Oasis. Now, this is one of the tracks that I actually time trialed a bit late, despite it being more of a technical track, but I have grown to really love this track. It's a track that I often suggest picking in my team for online play, and it's just such a fun track from start to finish. I mean, look at what you can do here. I'll try to do it right now. Look at that. Like, that's so cool. Then you can use the water to get up here. Beautiful. Then you can take this faster top path because of the rail. Shout out to the rail, man. Absolute beauty. Let's see if I can pull a feather. Look at the feather shortcut. Oh, speak of the devil. Look at this feather shortcut that you can do. Just watch this. Boom. Amazing. Perfectly executed, dude. Let's go. And I'm getting red for it. Was that worth it? Probably not, but who knows, man. Falling off in this game is really good because, you know, you respawn fast and you get the respawn boost, which is very good. But yeah, this section right here, I really love. Like, I love all the technical stuff you can pull off in this game. I think it's such a breath of fresh air, just being able to pull off all this cool stuff. And it's like the game is only less than 2 weeks old. How sick is that? The game's less than 2 weeks old, and we're pulling off insane stuff like the rail shortcut on this track. I just think it's such a cool vibe, and I think it really speaks to, you know, how good this track is, especially because you're taking that shortcut above the water, which is generally slower, and it makes this track very fast-paced. When it's a fast-paced track, you already know I'm a big fan of it. So once again, we're going to do the shortcut one last time for the fans. Beautiful stuff. This is my best execution of it, too. Beautiful. And just like that, we got Far Away Oasis at number 6. Kicking off the top 5, nearing the top of A tier is Wario Stadium. I'm going to try to pull off the cool new shortcut at the beginning, because this shortcut is awesome. Don't bump me, Bowser. Well, we're attempting it. Well, actually, we'll perform the second half of it. A little bit of this. A little bit of that. Hey! Oh, no! This is that's the most important shortcut that I'm not good at in this game. So I'm going to have to put some good practice into that. But yeah, Wario Stadium, extremely technical track. And I really love this remake, you know. Some people weren't that happy about Wario Stadium having cut out so much of the original, but considering how long Wario Stadium was in Mario Kart 64, I think it was very justified them cutting off so much of the track. And it still feels like Wario Stadium from Mario Kart 64, and in general, what's most important, it feels like a great track. So this is a very welcome number 5. Dude, can I please get up there, man? Oh my gosh, I'm struggling, man. Let's at least get this. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. And that's arguably the harder part of the shortcut too. So we're making progress at the end of the day. The coin strat you can take up here, which I think is really cool. I think there's a new strat as well, I think. I'm not sure for sure though. But yeah, dude, Wario Stadium, there's so much technicality to this track. And it's super fast paced from start to finish. It's a great running track all around. And it's just a blast to play in general. I really, really like this track. And I hope it continues to get picked super often because it's amazing. All right, here we go. Nice! We made it work. Okay, the ending was a little bit scuffed, but we got through the most important stuff. And so we got the job done. Let's go, man. Wario Stadium, absolutely incredible track. Very technical track. I have a bit of a skill issue here, but that's okay. that'll come with time. We'll get better at this track with time. And yeah, man, number 5, Wario Stadium, absolute banger track. Just short of the very top of A tier is Acorn Heights coming in at number 4. Now, this is the highest ranked track that I haven't put that much time into time trialing, actually, which I want to change because I do really like this track. I think it's a super fun track. There's so much technical stuff you can do here. There's a lot of rail action, which I think is just so cool. Like, every time there's, you know, rails that you can grind on, I think that it just adds so much depth to the track. You can see here, like, it's just a fast-paced experience. I know you can take the shortcut to my left shroomless, but I need to put some practice into that before I attempt it online. Or even in this video, per se. This shortcut is amazing. Just grinding on the vines and switching around left, right, and center. And boom, you make it to lap 2. And yeah, I think that really defines this track. You know, there's so much opportunity for tech. And this is definitely more of a running track. You can gain a big lead. So if you have like a mushroom or triple mushrooms, then you'll be set up very well on this track. It's just a very fun track. And I really like the vibe of it. It's kind of like a forest type thing, type vibe. And I think it makes for some really, you know, great races, just how the track is all laid out. The acorns can be annoying, though. I'll be honest. The acorns can be annoying online, especially on lap 3. But it's like, I could take this shortcut all day. Like, this shortcut single-handedly makes this like a top 10 track. Like, even if the rest of the track just wasn't that good, like, that shortcut alone puts it at top 10. I just think it's such a cool one. Even if it's not the most, like, glaring, insane shortcut in the world, it feels like it. And I like the feeling of these kinds of tracks. So, yeah, nothing else to say here. Coming in, I'll do this rail thing one more time. You know what? No, we're actually doing the whole track because I just love it so much. I want to play through the whole track. I want to commentate about it. And that's this game. I love Mario Kart World. I genuinely really love this game. And it's tracks like these that make me really appreciate what this game has to offer. Acorn Heights is an absolutely incredible track. Just short of my top 3, but definitely top 3 potential in the future. Absolutely. So, at the end of the day, coming in at number 4, absolute banger track in Acorn Heights. At the very top of my A tier is number 3, bronze medal, and that goes to Dry Bones Burnout. Now, this is like a subtly technical track. It's not the most technical track in the world by any stretch, but I feel like it's a cool track. I'm going to drop back for a mushroom, actually, because I do really like that ending shortcut, but I'm going to do it both. I'm going to do the ending both with a shroom and shroomless, so yeah, you get the full experience. I think this track is absolutely incredible. I think it has a really great design. It's honestly what I feel like it's what Bone Dry Dunes failed to do in Mario Kart 8. Because this track really feels like just what Bone Dry Dunes should have been. I think it's a really cool track. It has that same similar vibe to Bone Dry Dunes, except it's, you know, more in like the dark lands kind of thing. I love this ending shortcut so much. I'll do it with the shroom. But yeah, man, Dry Bones Burnout, it's an amazing track all around. I love this opening shortcut as well. You just ride the wall, cut over the lava, so you can do that shortcut shroomless. And that's really cool. Now we're starting first. How cool is that? We're playing against AI. It doesn't mean anything. Overall, I'd say this track just has so much going for it all around. I think it's such a great experience. I really like the vibe of this track. I think it's a great track to end off the Leaf Cup in this game. And we're going to get to the Shroomless Cut, which I love pulling off online. It feels like you're such a pro when you pull it off. And that's what makes me really like this track is like, there's so many instances on this track, like the beginning shortcut and then like the railing after the glider and then that ending shortcut right there that really just make you feel like a pro more than anything. This is a track that I will always be suggesting. I really love this track in the game. I'm falling off. GG's. I think this track is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to do the ending sequence one last time because this track is just too good. So I got to go for it. You already know the vibes. Can I go for it? Am I going to follow the bottom path? I sure am. That actually sucks. That actually is so bad too. I can't make it up top. Yeah, okay. Well, that's kind of sad. Hopefully I can make it up top through one of the rails or something like that. I think if I take this rail, I can get up top. I'm also probably getting second place this race. I didn't even make it up top. I gotta dial in. We're getting first place. We have to get first place. All right, we're good. We're getting first place. Bit of a struggle there with that blue shell, but as much as we couldn't get that ending shortcut, I mean, it has a special place in my heart. This track, absolutely phenomenal. Love the design. Love how it plays. Easiest number 3 top of A tier of my life. And Dry Bones Burnout could only be as high as number 3 because now we're on the S tier tracks, and I don't think any track in this game is ever going to top these 2 tracks. Starting off at my runner-up, we got Bowser's Castle. Let's start off with a banger of a shortcut, shall we? Or try to at least. Yup. You can cut off that whole U-turn by doing something like that. That's the slower method. I'm actually just... And the flashier method too. The faster method I find a lot more challenging. Oh wait, there's another shortcut right here too. Look at this. Yeah, look at that. This track is the hardest track in the game. There is no 2 ways about it. There is no track in the game harder than this one. It is super technical. The shroomless shortcuts are absolutely insane. And it's just, more than anything too, it's just fun. It's a blast. It's a challenge as well. You know, if you're trying to play at top level, let's try to do the fast method. I'm not that good at this one, but we'll do it. Hey! Okay, the ending was kind of scuffed, but we still got it, which I'm pretty happy about. What's most important for me is getting down this second shortcut, though, because A, it looks amazing. B, it's a lot easier and reliable than the first shortcut. Think I got it? I sure did. Yeah, tricking at the edge of, you know, that quote-unquote wall is just what you got to do. And then just like that, you're flying, man. I love the blue fire on this section. I think this is an amazingly designed Bowser's Castle. You know, I wasn't the biggest fan of Mario Kart 7's Bowser's Castle. By the way, I'm going to do the safe strat if you don't want to attempt the shortcut. You go up this railing. I'll get back into the Mario Kart 7 Bowser's Castle in a second. And then you aim for this rail, left rail trick, brake drift in the air, then you have a better line for this turn. So there you have it. But yeah, like I was saying, you know, I wasn't the biggest fan of Mario Kart 7's Bowser's Castle. I don't think it's a bad track by any means, but like, I didn't remember it like I did like Mario Kart Wii's Bowser's Castle, for instance. This track feels like Mario Kart 7 Bowser's Castle if Mario Kart 7 Bowser's Castle was like absolutely amazing. That's my perception of it. I think this is easily like second best track in the game with a big gap over third as well is S tier. I only have 2 tracks in S tier, and this track very clearly earns its spot in S tier. Bowser's Castle is an absolute masterpiece from start to finish with so much shortcut potential and such a fast pace. It's such a fun time, and I love this track, man. And that's why it is my runner-up. But if you know anything about me, this was never going to be number 1. My favorite track in Mario Kart World is Great Question Block Ruins. This was inevitable. I love this track so much. I'm going to get shrooms too because I do want to do the opening shortcut as well. So I had a couple world records on this track. So already the bias is there. That's pretty obvious. Okay, I'm not doing the opening railing, I guess. Okay. There's a lot of risk in this track, absolutely, and that's why I love it so much. But if you have technical prowess here, dude, can I please get a mushroom? Okay, this is scuffed already. All right, you know, let's just go fast. Let's just go fast. This shortcut, my favorite shortcut in the game. No doubt about it. Boom, boom, boom. Off the wall, boom. Yep, easy work. I love this track so much. There isn't a single track in this game that will ever top this track for me. It's my OG world record track, and I had Bowser. I just want to get a shroom, man. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm getting in third for. But yeah, man, I think this track is phenomenal. It's so tech heavy as well. I can't get a shroom. Okay, I'm gonna do this and then back up for a shroom. Let's talk about more about why I love this track. See, look at that. How sick is that, dude? Okay, I'm backing out to get shrooms. I'm bagging. Okay, triple shrimp. That's what I want. Beautiful. Because we are doing that opening rail shortcut. But yeah, this track is just like, it's so fast-paced. And the tech that you can pull off here is incredible. I will say, I'm not looking forward to the day where I can no longer skill diff people on this track. Because I can already tell people are getting better at the tech on this track. And yeah, it's kind of sad. But we're still going to keep grinding, still keep doing better. But yeah, this track is just... There's so much going on. Look at this shortcut. Boom, boom, boom. On the rail, doing it like that. Yes, sir. Light work. And now we're getting a perfect lap, too. Like, there's just so much going on here. You never really stop, like, pushing the pace on this track. And this shortcut just has so much improv that you can do to make it work. And it feels just so technically advanced that you really feel like a master when you're playing this track. And that makes me just appreciate the design so much. And it really makes me appreciate what they did with the tech in Mario Kart World. And that's why Great Block Ruins is my favorite track in the game. This track fully embraces the Mario Kart World engine better than any other track in the game. And especially because I had world records here and I've become a beast on this track so early on, it'll always have a special place in my heart. And there's no two ways about it. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments what your favorite tracks are and least favorite tracks are in Mario Kart World. And let me know if your rankings either are similar to mine or differ and what you think. I recognize that we are only less than 2 weeks into the game and my opinions could change. I don't think they will change for the top 2. Maybe for every other track, you never know. But as of right now, I'm pretty confident in these rankings, and especially the top 2, and especially Great Question Block Ruins. I love this track so much, and I honestly think it's my favorite track in Mario Kart history. I'm just going to love it so much, and it's always going to have a special place in my heart. I feel like, once again, it captures the engine of... It captures embracing this game's engine so flawlessly, and I think it does it better than Bowser's Castle, honestly. I really do. So there you have it, man. Wrapping it up here. Until next time, thank you all so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day and keep on giving her, bud.